How can we visually express emotional isolation often accompanied to men's divorce, especially in scenes with minimal dialogue?
I mainly wanted the camera to like be as subtle as possible with like minimal movement, because I wanted to like give the audience, I wanted like, this whole film is kind of like documentary style, so it kind of like, you feel like you're in it with them and like you're following Mark like through the journey of like going through a divorce. And then the scenes where he's like on his own in his flat, like this new, like the flat he's had to like get to like basically carry on his life without his normal family dynamic. It's very like cold, it's very sad, he's just filled with like the depression around him of, you've just been rejected by like your whole life. And to like visualize that, instead of having all these different camera movements and shots of like the like production design and like, you know, give it all these like nuanced like shot types, I just wanted to keep it like as minimal as possible and like have it like one continuous take of like a jump cut sequence where it's like passing the time to just show that depression is so boring and simple, and it just like, it's so like, it just happens, and like you don't necessarily need to have all these dramatic sort of camera style choices and stuff like that to like provide the audience with, this is extreme, this is terrible, like this is what's happening to him. I think just letting you sit with the camera and like watch him go through all these different emotions and phases, and like, you know, seeing his kids coming in and like sleeping in the day, sleeping in the night, you know, having really shitty food, struggling to sleep, like it just puts the audience in this perspective of, wow, like divorce can be so hard to the point of where you just feel like you're not even living really, you're just sort of stood still in a way, which is why a lot of our visualizations are very simplistic and chill, I guess.
How do you envision camera movement or stillness to reflect the emotional tone of the story?
When I was doing the shot list, I pretty much was thinking of how, because it's a true story, I was thinking about how I felt, and like I spoke to obviously my dad about the whole script and stuff because we went through it. Like I would obviously go from the script and how it felt in that moment. So like when there's scenes where the kids are there, when I was younger, I was there. So like I sort of tried to make a tone of like how I would feel, or like how my dad would feel, or how sort of, you know, my sister would feel in the situation or the scene. And then I just sort of built it up from, you know, for example, in the argument scene at Mark and Kate's house at night when he comes back, it's very much one shot. It's very much quick pans from Mark to Kate. There's no cuts. It's just one continuous shot of where you're like, what is going on? And you're just in the thick of it, following these two people butting heads together, like not getting along at all. And it creates this like anxiety of where like you didn't even know what's going to happen next, because it's like so quick and it's so like real and raw. So like when I would create the shots, I would think I wanted it to flow so documentary style that it felt like you were watching a documentary in a way, but just cinematically, if that makes sense. So have the, you know, obviously have the shot list ready, obviously because it's not a documentary, so it's a true story, but to just make it as realistic as possible for each scene with where the true story was at. So yeah, each scene is individually tied to a true story within like my family. So all the movements are like needed in order to like bring out the emotion. So like every movement within the film, it's like there's a reason why we're moving in that sort of way, because it's like, for example, even when we're following Mark to like around the corner to him seeing his girls, it's like we're with him. It's like we're following him rather like, and we're actually like in the story rather than outside of it, like watching from like afar, if you know what I mean.
As the writer now, what aspects of masculinity or fatherhood were most important to highlight?
Well, obviously, like I've always grown up being like closer to my dad, like throughout, since I was a child, I was closer to my dad. And literally it stemmed from me writing it in a way of I never got to witness, like, he never told me his story until we were old enough to like hear it. Whereas my mum would sort of belt out the stories to all my family, or like all of us, and it would be in a way of like, she used to always say like the sun doesn't shine out of your dad's ass and stuff like that, like as in like he's not perfect, and we knew he wasn't perfect. But when he told his story, he didn't really have many people around him at the time. Like my nan passed away, and like his dad, like he's not close with, so he didn't really have many people at the time to like actually tell his story to. And I feel like a lot of fathers like don't really get the opportunity to explain their side of the story. Like I feel like they get if they go legally in like court and stuff, I feel like they get a certain like judge call, or like they'll get a certain deal with them, and then the mum kind of has a lot of the control over like what they get to tell the kids and like what they can or can't tell. I feel like it's a very unfair system. And when I wrote it, I really wanted to include sort of the imperfections of my dad as well as the like perfections that we see of my dad. So when he's with the kids, it's very much friendly, like it's, you know, it's funny, it's cutesy, it's like you can tell he really cares. But I didn't want him, like, if I wrote it from my full perspective, I would have had my dad like perfect throughout the whole thing. Like he wouldn't have been depressed at all. He wouldn't have been struggling or angry or make a mistake at all. But when I spoke to him about it and I was like, oh, I'm thinking of writing your story that you told me about what happened with you and mum to give you some like, I don't know, justice, I guess, because you got really like fucked over. He was like, yeah, I mean, I wasn't perfect. I didn't do everything right. And then he told me, and like we came up with this idea to sort of give him like not really a downfall, but negative parts of his personality, like keep him real and keep him like raw, like keep him like when they're arguing, like it's not like they're both not thinking about the kids, they're both not like, they're both being a bit selfish, they're not like thinking in the thought of my kids are right there, they need to be safe from this whole argument. And like I really respect that my dad has the courage to say he wasn't correct in that sort of situation, and like that he wasn't perfect through my childhood growing up. So I really wanted to incorporate how fathers can make mistakes and they also can rectify them, and they can still be great dads, like regardless. As well as just that, you know, parents don't get it right, and like masculinity nowadays has to be this certain sort of viewpoint of you're not allowed to show emotions, you're not allowed to show when you're down, you have to man up, like all those sayings. And like it's getting a bit pathetic. And, you know, we're all human at the end of the day. And like what I wanted to show with this film is that everyone has terrible days and everyone suffers with depression on some level. And, you know, we all need to sort of wake up and just understand that, I think.